Good afternoon. My name is Grant Cohn. This is Alain Poupart, who is the editor of All Dolphins with Fan Nation. I'm the editor of All 49ers. I asked him to come on the show today, give us some of his time just to answer some of my dumb questions about the Dolphins because, frankly, I don't know the Dolphins very well. I've tried to learn about the Dolphins. I know Mike McDaniel. I know Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. But here's a real living expert. Alain, how are you? Thanks for coming on.
I'm doing great. You don't know about Trent Sherfield and River Craycraft either? Come on.
I know them very well. I actually hung out with, I think, Trent Sherfield's uncle on the road.
Oh, nice.
I saw someone at the hotel bar wearing a Sherfield jersey, and I'm thinking he's got to be in his family. I don't know. I don't know anyone that just be walking around Cincinnati with a Trent Sherfield jersey. Anyway, nice family. Eddie, thank you.
Oh, I like it.
All right, I got 6 questions for you, and take your time or answer however you'd like. The first question is about the Dolphins' offense. It's Niner fans are envious of it. It looks really fun and explosive. What is the biggest strength of the Miami offense?
Speed. I mean, holy moly, speed. And it starts with Tyreek Hill. Duh. And here's the thing is, you and I have been following the NFL for a while. Watching from our vantage point, kind of knew Tyreek Hill is fast. Watching him in training camp, the second you see him on the field and when he decides to turn on the Jets, it's like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different kind of fast. And I know one of your coaches alluded to it. I don't know if it was D'Amico Ryans or if it was Shanahan this week or maybe both. It's a different kind of fast. I mean, it's insane how fast he is. And if you don't think that creates all sorts of possibilities for the Dolphin offense, all sorts of nightmares for opposing defenses, and then you have Mike McDaniel, who, as you well know, is a pretty sharp guy, and it opens up all sorts of possibilities with everything he can do. And the Dolphin wide receivers have been running wide open the entire season down the field. And I know you hear a lot about – and here's the thing, and this is a conversation that's always uncomfortable for anybody to have in Miami because Tua fans are so protective. It's really crazy, actually.
Hey, Jimmy fans are the same way out here. We get it.
I cannot for the life of me, I don't mean to be dismissive and be that guy, but I can't for the life of me imagine anything remotely as bad as down here. If you say Tua threw like 25 awesome passes in a row, the 26 was maybe a little bit off. Oh, you're a hater. What's wrong with you?
Okay. So he's untouchable right now. He's untouchable right now.
For his fans. And
fair enough.
There's still some who will tell you he sucks and he's completely a product of the offense, which is unfair because here's the thing, it's the perfect marriage of the quarterback as Mike McDaniel himself this week says he's a great point guard. That's what he is.
Distributor.
Correct. And yeah. I made this point here in the Dolphin media room and I got somebody give me a weird look and I explained it and you tell me how crazy I am. In terms of speed, he's a point guard who's got Michael Jordan on one side and Kobe Bryant on the other wing.
Oh, nice.
With Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So what they're doing is they're running deep crossers, deep slant, and they're open by 5 yards all the time, and Tua is getting the ball there.
See, what I wanted to ask you was when they brought Tyreek Hill in, a lot of people nationally were like, okay, but does Tua have the arm to get it to him? So how are they not just doing straight go routes up the sideline? How are they making it work on the downfield throws?
No, they're not. They're not doing straight. And here's the thing, and this is where, again, whichever Miami fans see this, I apologize. But all these stats that say like Tua is the best deep passer in the history of the NFL, because deep passing includes like either 15 to 20 yards, he'll make that throw all day. And his guys are wide open and he'll get it to them all day. When he's gone over the top, I would challenge you. There has not been one pass to Tyreek Hill where Hill hasn't had to slow down or come back for it. Not one.
Okay.
And Hill has made a couple of plays where he's actually literally come back, jumped over 2 defenders and made the catch, and boom, 40-yard reception, and it looks great onto his stat sheet. And the funny part is when he's gone over the top to Waddle, those throws have been on the money. So it could be that he's synced up with Waddle's speed, and he just still has not realized just how fast Tyreek is, and instead of throwing it 5 yards ahead of him at the time of the throw, he needs to throw it 10 yards ahead of him. But this is what they've done is basically it's deep slants. The amount of passes they've completed, 15 yards to 20 yards down the middle of the field with guys literally, if you've watched the CFL where they have the halo when they return punts of it's 3 yards all around,
yes.
That's what you see. There's nobody around.
Got it.
And they've made a killing off of that the entire season.
So he's throwing into wide open spaces. Got it. Okay.
But again, I don't want to dismiss him. He's been
Right.
accurate. There
Leading his receivers,
been,
right.
There have not been a ton of tight window throws.
And he doesn't really have the arm strength to pull those off. So it's a good, I mean, from my vantage point, I mean, it looks like he's throwing a Nerf ball. It looks like there's a parachute attached to the ball, which is nice. It's catchable. But it's not like he's going to drive it between four defenders.
You're a hater.
I'm a hater. I'm sorry. Hey, he's better than Jimmy G. That's the way I look at it. Sorry, Niner fans. Real quick, Adam has a question about the Niners. He says, how serious is Trent Williams' back injury? Kyle Shanahan just spoke. He says it's back spasms. He said he spoke to the offensive line coach. He said it's big man problems. I guess what they said is it happens. You just don't want it to happen on a Sunday. So they're optimistic that it'll be fine by Sunday, but they listed him as questionable. They don't really know. So that's your answer. It should be okay. It's not great, but it could be worse. I guess it's the Trent Williams situation. All right, next question. What is the Dolphins' biggest weakness on offense? From afar, it looks like they don't have one.
Well, no, they do. And it could come into play right now. Their biggest weakness is they lack depth on the offensive line. And you mentioned Trent Williams, which is very topical because the Dolphins have their own injury issue with their stud left tackle, Teron Armstead, who sustained a pectoral injury late in the second quarter against Houston last Sunday. It's a strain, not a tear, which is good news. It means he's not out for the year. Mike McDaniel has refused all week to rule him out for the game. He's listed as doubtful to play on Sunday. And with a pectoral strain, do you really want to take the risk of putting him in there if he's 100% and aggravating the injury?
I've never heard of a player being listed as doubtful and then playing. I don't understand even why they have the designation, but okay.
That's correct. Well, they got rid of probable because if somebody remember
it's the same thing. What are you talking about? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. What I miss, by the way, quick sidebar, what I miss about those, if you recall, they used to have the designation Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Yes.
The probable, doubtful, questionable. They used to do it every day of the week. Now they just do it Friday. Anyway, I digress. Well, here's the thing is, so Teron Armstead, complete stud. The Dolphins signed him to this big free agent contract. The only issue with him, he's got an injury history. A lot of it is bad luck.
Same with Trent Williams.
Okay. First game of the year suffers a toe injury. He's been on the injury report every week since with that, but he's been able to play, except he left the game in the first quarter of the Jets game. This was the week after Tua had the concussion on that Thursday night game. Teddy Bridgewater got quote unquote concussed. Really. They put Skylar Thompson in, and if the rookie 7th round pick's job's not tough enough as it is, Armstead leaves the game in the first quarter after aggravating the injury, and all of a sudden the pass protection can't hold up.
Okay.
Armstead sits out week 6 against Minnesota. Thompson and Teddy Bridgewater played. They got sacked, I believe, a combined 6 times again. And when they weren't sacked, they were being hurried all over the place. Against Houston on Sunday, this is a great stat. In the 4 games before Sunday, Tua was sacked a total of 3 times.
Oh.
In the 3 series he played after Armstead left Sunday against Houston, he was sacked 4 times.
Okay.
And eventually they took him out of the game because A, they had the game under control, and B, he's going to get killed out there. So they haven't shown they can protect the quarterback without Armstead, and he likely won't play Sunday. That's the biggest weakness.
And it seems like if your biggest weapon on offense is the crossing routes to the fast wide receivers 15 to 20 yards down the field, even though they run 4-2, it takes a little time to run from here all the way across the field. So if you don't have time, you can't do that. So that'll be interesting to see if they can pull that off.
Correct. And they may switch like quick slants because you can see a lot of wide receiver screens.
Sure.
I think they'll adjust because McDaniel's a brilliant coach, but they're going to be limited in what they can do if the protection can't hold up for more than 3 seconds. Yeah?
Well, just listen to Nick Bosa talk. I mean, they know the defensive game plan. It sounds like what the Niners are going to do is play aggressive press man coverage, even though they could get burned, and try to take away the quick stuff. And hope that, if Miami responds by going downfield, that the Niners pass rush will take care of that. Not sure if it will, but without Teron Armstead, it's possible. Another question.
Yeah. Go ahead. No, I was going to say that's a dangerous. I don't know if you want to cover.
That's what I'm saying.
Man to man.
Saying. But if they start playing back, it seems like a lot of teams are just backing off the Dolphins. And it's like, okay, well, Tua will dice you up and complete 75. I mean, he almost wants you to do that. So let's see how aggressive and confident the Niners are. They have some guys in the secondary you could go after with, Waddle or whoever. Let's talk about the defense because I know it's not nearly as good. What is the biggest strength about this Miami Dolphins defense?
That's a good question because they've been spotty. They've had
They haven't established one.
Well, the strength as the way the defense is built is the cornerbacks with Xavier Howard on one side and Byron Jones on the other. Well, Jones hasn't played all year.
Right.
Then so they've had the current starter is a rookie free agent, Kader Kahu from Division II Texas A&M Commerce, who, by the way, looks like he's going to be a keeper.
Okay.
But there's certain times when where he's a rookie who gets beat.
Sure.
Right now, probably their strength is after the acquisition of Bradley Chubb at the trade deadline is now they have a pass rushing trio of Chubb, Melvin Ingram, who's played really well lately, and Jalen Phillips, their second of 2 first-round picks last year. So that would be
does any of the three rush from the interior? Like, do they get all three on the field at the same time?
At times they'll move. Okay. They'll put Phillips inside. He's a guy who will move inside.
Oh, cool.
And then they rotate the 3 outside.
Okay. So it's an improving, impressive pass rush with Chubb here.
It was good last week, but they played Houston, so and Houston not good.
Jeez, that's the nicest thing you can say about this defense. Well, and you said it doesn't play particularly well on the road either, does it?
No. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
The 6 lowest point totals they've allowed this season all at home. The 5 highest all on the road. And they won games at home with the defense. They beat New England in the opener 20-7 with the defense scoring a touchdown. They beat Buffalo in week 3. That's the defensive win. They won 21-19. Buffalo had almost 500 yards, but still only 19 points and couldn't get in the end zone. And then the Sunday night game against Pittsburgh, if you saw that game, they won 16-10. So the defense has contributed at times, but it's also been, like I said, it's been spotty. They gave up 32 points against Chicago and got bailed out by a no call on what looked like a pretty obvious defensive pass interference penalty. Late in the game, they gave up 27 points against Detroit. So they have to show that the defense actually can travel, and maybe it'll be different now that they have Chubb, who they didn't have. Oh, no, actually, sorry. They did have Chubb against Chicago and Detroit. So in those 2 instances, it didn't make that much of a difference.
Who's the defensive coordinator? What's your feeling about him?
It's Josh Boyer, who is a holdover from last year.
Okay.
And the scuttlebutt is that the organization kind of leaned on Mike McDaniel to keep him as his defensive coordinator.
Okay.
And then Mike, it's interesting because McDaniel is at his introductory press conference, what's the word I'm looking for? Referenced the 2020 game the Dolphins played at San Francisco where they won 43-17, where they completely dominated defensively, although Jimmy G was hurt, and then it was C.J. Beathard, as I recall correctly.
They did. I mean, they injured Jimmy Garoppolo. I guess he came in. I guess he was hurt. He came in a little hurt. That's true. That is true. But they kicked his ass.
They aggravated him in more ways.
They did. I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but that was such an ass kicking. Jed York left at halftime and was stopped by the police for driving the wrong way down a one-way street. They were like, sir. We know it's your stadium and your street, but please follow the rules of the law, of the road. Very funny. Anyway, first games these teams play since then. That was the Brian Allen game. We remember that as the Brian Allen game.
Wasn't he was the corner who picked me off the street. Yeah. And it was a next to last start for Ryan Fitzpatrick before they pulled him in favor of Tua.
I don't think he missed that day. He might have had a 130 passer rating. He looked.
He did.
I mean, he was great.
Yep.
All right. What is the Dolphins' biggest weakness on defense? And you can just pick one.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't apply. It doesn't apply for this game. I mean, and it's kind of silly because it kind of applies to a lot of different teams. Is if they haven't been able to handle scrambling quarterbacks.
Okay.
I mean, Lamar Jackson burned them for a 70-yard touchdown run.
Niners are the same way.
Yeah. And that's
couldn't contain Justin Fields.
They gave up the record. I think it was 178 yards.
Yeah.
But you play a lot of man in the secondary. Your back is turned to the quarterback. He takes off, and it's like takes.
They play a lot of man.
They do play a lot of man. So outside of that, again, everything else has been spotty. The pass rush has come and gone. The run defense has come and gone. Although I will say this: no, the run defense for the most part has been very good. Outside of the big runs by Lamar, by Justin Fields, by Dalvin Cook, when they lost against Minnesota. But this was a case where late in the game, they needed a stop, so they bunched everybody to the line, and Dalvin Cook cracked the line. And once he did, there was nobody else back there. Outside of that, they've done a very good job against the run. So it'd be more pass rush and pass defense. Have been
teams that play man coverage are doing a decent job against the Niners this year, I want to say, because Debo's not beating man coverage. Kittle's not beating man coverage. Ayuk can. Ayuk's really good. But you put Xavier Howard on him, he won't necessarily win every time. I mean, he went up against Paulson Adebo last week, and Adebo played really well. So if you can play man coverage, all of a sudden, here's when you know Jimmy Garoppolo's in trouble. He gets hit a few times in the first quarter, he starts patting his feet and patting the ball. It's like, and when you play good man coverage, you can take away his first read, take away the quick throws, because he doesn't want to hold the ball long. He's been hurt a million times. He wants to get rid of the ball fast. I don't know if Tua is the same way, but Jimmy wants to get rid of the ball. Force him to hold it for 2-3 seconds. You can sort of see the sweat start to drip off his brow. It's not what he wants to do.
Beautiful face, guy.
He wants to be clean. He wants to play clean, pretty football. And once you rough him up and make him hold the ball, he doesn't like it. One thing that's interesting about the Saints last week, Dennis Allen in the red zone, he was dropping 8 in coverage, only rushing 3, and Jimmy couldn't make him pay. I think tell the people in Miami they should try that, because if you're people used to do it against Drew Brees. If you're going to drop 8, I mean, you're kind of inviting the guy to run, scramble, do something. Jimmy's just going to stand there and throw it into the underneath cover. Yeah. He's just going to flood the underneath zone. Jimmy will throw it into it. I don't root against the 49ers. I just want both teams to be properly prepared. All right, I got another question.
Let me make a quick point. It's funny because you mentioned Jimmy G wanting to get rid of the ball quickly.
Yeah.
With Tua, the opposite has been, because you referenced Tua, the opposite has been true. Oh. Tua is the guy who always wants to make something happen on every play.
Oh.
And this is what's gotten him in trouble, both in terms of bad decisions and when he sustained a concussion in the Thursday night game against Cincinnati, if you recall. If you remember the play, he had all day to throw.
Yeah.
And kept hanging on the ball, kept looking down the field, and eventually the big defensive tackle came up to him, and Tua thought he could just juke him, and the guy grabbed a hold of him and swung him around. So, the point of emphasis with Tua has been, if the play's not there, just chuck it out of bounds. Don't take chances. And he did that last week. I actually asked their QB coach, Darrell Bevel, how much he liked that play because it showed a sign of progress. And he goes, that was one of my favorite plays of the game.
We've all been watching Tua since college, and it seems like he had an injury issue. He had an injury in college, and it seems like he thinks he's more athletic than he is. He thinks he's Kyler Murray or something, and he can run away from people. But he's a better athlete than Jimmy, of course, quick feet. But I don't know if he's going to run away from Nick Bosa. Be careful, Tua.
No, he's not.
Be careful. Kyler can. I don't know if Tua can.
No, correct. And he doesn't. Again, you have to have one of the two. You have to have some bulk, or you have to have some, like, I don't want to say crazy athletic ability, but like way above average athletic ability. He doesn't have either. That's why Tua has to beat you with his mind, his eyes, quick decisions, and his accuracy. It's not going to beat you physically.
But it seems like he does have quick feet and he can reset well in the pocket and stuff like that, as opposed to Jimmy, who has the heaviest feet I've ever. Maybe it's just because you watch Tua every day. I've been watching Jimmy every day for like 6 years. Like it's like you've been having the same dinner every night. It's like, I've had enough, man. I've seen it.
He's 40 and 9-10.
I've seen it. You take him. You take him, man. I don't want. Woo! Anyway, he is, though. Good for him. Can't take that away from him.
No, can't take that away from him. You're aware of that because that's a big talking point here. Like, Dolphins are 8-0 when Tua starts and ends. And
finishes, yeah.
Which omits the fact that, as I mentioned before, Armstead missed a game and 3 quarters during the 3-game losing streak. And also they had a quarterback change in each of their 3 losses.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, they also didn't have a defensive takeaway in any of those 3 losses. But that's
so it's not just the Tua effect. Right. Got it.
I mean, seriously. And for example, against – I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
In Week 6 against Minnesota, which was a Teddy Bridgewater loss, they were rallying to take the lead in the 4th quarter. Bridgewater was on fire, completing everything. And then Jalen Waddle fumbles as they're about to take the lead, fumbles at the Minnesota 30-yard line, and they wind up losing. And that's a Teddy Bridgewater loss. And so I hate the one loss conversation when it comes to
right, because it bugs me too with the Jimmy Garoppolo win-loss. It's like, come on, like he's just single-handedly dragging the Niners to. That's not what's happening.
Right.
I got a question about Mike McDaniel. Niner fans are they miss him. He was here, he's gone. The offense is not really looking so great this year in San Francisco, and in Miami it looks just so great. And one thing with the Niners offense is Kyle often has a good script. He often moves the ball well in the first half, gets a lead, scores points. After halftime, especially if it's a team that's not in their division, it's like nothing. They scored 3 points after halftime last week. And so adjustments have been a thing. And I think a lot of people are wondering, hey, did the adjustment maker go to Miami? So I want to ask you, what are McDaniel's mid-game adjustments? How have they been so far this year?
Well, if I'm thinking off the top of my head, I mean, they score on their first drive of the second half almost like clockwork. And then,
wow,
even though he's not in charge of the defense also stiffens. I know like they had a couple of games, not the 4-game streak that the 49ers have of not allowing a point in the second half, but they had a couple of straight games where they were bad in the first half. And they would, like Detroit, for example, they got up 27 points all in the first half. So they tightened it. I think against Pittsburgh also, they gave up only 10 points, but all in the first half, nothing in the second half. So, they've been very good in terms of the halftime adjustments. And again, like I said, I don't know the stats. I don't have them in front of me. But I would tell you the Dolphins score on their first drive of the second half more often than they don't.
See, that's interesting. I'm not going to ask Alan for his prediction because he's going to he hasn't given it yet, and he's going to publish it on his own platform as he should. I'm picking the 49ers to win this game, but if anyone were to pick the Dolphins, I think a big reason would be trust in McDaniel, feeling like Miami has the better coach. He's going to make they both might have good plans since they know each other, but McDaniel's going to be the one that reacts better during the game. I think if you were to pick Miami, this would be a reason because, frankly, the Niners' offense just hasn't been the same without him. And again, I'm picking the Niners to win this game because I think their defense is legit. No, but this is a big test.
No, and I agree with you. And I had like somebody else another podcast that I'm a regular guest on want to poo-poo the 49ers defensive stretch because of the opponents. And I'm like, don't play that game because the Dolphins have been really good on offense the last few weeks against Chicago after the trades of Robert Quinn and Roquan Smith, Detroit, which is horrible on defense, Cleveland, which can't stop the run, and Houston, which is a horrible team. So I don't want to play that game. The Frisco defense is legit. The Dolphin offense is legit.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is how in the hell are they going to deal with Teron Armstead not being there? And I have so much faith in Mike McDaniel's creative genius that I'm confident he's going to find a way to make it work and adjust again. But they won't. What they've been living off of have been those 15, 20-yard passes down the middle. I don't see them being able to do that very often. It's going to have to be a lot more, slowly. And then also weather might be a factor. I think that's
true.
60%
chance of rain. Yeah. It's tough to hit those passes over the middle over Fred Warner. He's 6'3". He's got great instincts. It's just very difficult.
No, I agree.
It seems to me this game's going to come down to Nick Bosa versus the Dolphins' plan to block him, because people talk about Jimmy Garoppolo's win-loss record. What about Bosa's? Bosa has a much bigger impact on games and wins and losses than Jimmy Garoppolo. And the Niners, when he plays, they usually win. So this is what they have him for, to take advantage of situations, backup tackles like this. That being said, McDaniel's been around Nick Bosa for a long time. He should have a plan. And frankly, Bosa isn't like Andy Reid makes him a liability. He's done it multiple times because Nick Bosa, I've never seen someone charge up field faster as a pass rusher than him. He gets so much speed and power in his first 2-3 steps. You can use that against him. You can use it against him on run plays and screens and jet sweeps, and Andy Reid does it all the time. I don't know if Mike McDaniel can do it, but he's smart enough and he's seen it. So be interesting.
Like I said, when the schedule first came out, and this is the start of a 3-game stretch for the Dolphins where they're at the 49ers, at the Chargers, at the Bills. It's a season-defining stretch. And at the beginning of the season, I'd have told you there's no way they're winning at San Francisco. And now my belief in Mike McDaniel is such that I easily could see them winning. I'm not sure they will, but I easily could see them winning.
Yeah, I'm picking the Niners 2017. It feels like a coin flip game. The Niners are 3 or 4 point favorites in Vegas. Okay, so if this were being played in Oklahoma, it'd be a pick'em game. Two teams, and I don't think people really know which one's better. And I think that's why it's so intriguing. After this game, we'll have a much better idea of where each team is. One team will look for real and one team won't. Or it'll just be a very close game. I don't know.
Here's Here's what I would tell you, though. I think, to me, and I don't know, I can't speak for the 49ers. To me, this is one of those games where, beyond win or loss in the standings, where the Dolphins have so much more to gain than they have to lose because of the circumstances, where if they win, it's a gigantic win.
On the road, no Teron Armstead, absolutely.
And if they lose,
hey, we're on the road, no Teron Armstead. Sure. That's a good point. And can you fathom how much pressure is on Kyle this week? Mike McDaniel coming to town. That was your protege. And all of a sudden, he's going to come to your stadium in front of your owner and your fans and potentially show you up. Ooh, that was a good week for you to display all your creativity. If you've been holding something back, Kyle, this is the week. Show it. Yeah. No, and I don't think McDaniel's going to hold back.
I don't know about Shanahan, but McDaniel was trying really hard to downplay the significance of his return to San Francisco this week, and you know deep down he wants that game bad.
Yeah, and Kyle Shanahan's underlings have been very successful in the league, but he tends to beat them. 8-1 against Sean McVay, 3-1 against Matt LaFleur. Maybe there's a little bit of a psychological big brother thing going on. I don't know. We'll see what McDaniel's got. I think McDaniel's ready though. I don't know.
Well, the McVay thing is mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's got to be like psychological at this point. Yeah. I don't know. Alan, thank you very much for coming on the show. This was great.
Absolutely, enjoyed it.
All right, have a good one. Take care. I'm gonna hang out here and take some comments and stuff, but you can go. All right, have a good one, man. Take care. That's Alain Poupart. All Dolphins fan nation. Check him out. Works for the same place I do. He's si.com/NFL/Dolphins. He does a great job. Been around a long time. OG on the beat. Splendiferous says, Niners are starting to love Grant. Can Kyle call you Iggy? You think Kyle's starting to love me? I disagree. John Mitchell says, Grant, what happened to the merch? Love your show. 49ersQCmerch.com. It still exists. Check it out. Matt Sanders says, over under 0.5 fumbles from Jeff Wilson Jr. Ooh, that's I don't know. I do think that's why the Niners traded him. I think the Niners blamed him for the loss in Denver. He fumbled at the end. The game was over, but he fumbled at the end. And then he fumbled early on against Atlanta. They returned it for a touchdown. I think Kyle blamed him. So, I don't know. They stripped Kamara twice last week. Let's see if they can get him too. 3 of the last 4 games, Finn scored 2 TDs in the third. Aren't you envious? Aren't you envious of a coach who can put together a script for the second half, not just the first? All right, that's the show. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow with the Cohn Phone. See you then. Thanks for watching.